Hi, everyone. This is Nikki James with CrossCountry Mortgage, and I am super excited to have with me here today Chase Huddleston. Chase is with Coldwell Banker, and we've had the pleasure of working together for a while. And we are going to talk today about first-time homebuyers and how the heck to get you started, which is, I think, a big thing for a lot of people is, where do I start? Chase, they often come to you first. Is that sort of how you see it? And tell me what the conversations look like.
Well, that's so true. And I'm so glad we're doing this, especially now because there's so much information out there and it can be a bit confusing. And the conversations I'm having right now are, should I wait? Because I've been reading that mortgage rates are up and, maybe the market is, topsy-turvy right now. So what should I do? My advice is always, if you're paying your own mortgage, you're not paying someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of the beginning of the conversation. And then, well, what do I need to do? How much do I need? There's a common misconception that people need 20% down. They don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a common misperception that people can't have any debt at all if they're going to buy a home. So maybe they're trying to pay that down, planning to buy a year from now. Well, a year from now, prices are likely to be higher. That's been the trajectory we've been on for quite a while. So those are sort of how the conversations begin. And then I always recommend that they speak to you because you know all things numbers. And I just, once they talk to you, then we know what range we're looking in and we go find the property they're looking for.
Such a good point. I meet so many people who say exactly the same thing. Oh, I'd like to pay off my student loans. As a lender, we would much rather see in most cases that you have 20 grand in the bank and a $300, $400 payment versus no payments, but no money in the bank. We can do a lot more with it. There are down payment options, as you said, with low down payments, even no down payments, but you do need some money. You need money to put the deposit in. You need money for closing costs. So I would rather see you have a payment in most cases. And we'll drill a little bit in a second here into the numbers and how we qualify so that people can kind of understand why we say that. But it's such a great point that we just need to start the conversation. And, we're always welcome, I know you are too, to have a high level, like just, let me throw you my income at you and my, just without even having to give bank statements and pay stubs and all of that. Let's just see, where do we sit? Or what actions can I be in today to set myself up to buy in 2 years? So maybe it is that you do need to pay down some debt. Maybe you need to heal some credit issues. But the key is to talk to experts now, obviously like us, so that we can get grounded in what those actions are to set yourself up so that you really are ready to hit the road. And if that's now, then as you said, it now is such an amazing time, as even though people are so worried about interest rates being up and other people are getting out of the market and sitting and waiting. Can you touch on that for a little bit about what you're seeing out there in terms of why should somebody think now? Why should they not put themselves on the sideline?
Well, this seems to happen every fall, but especially this fall because rates are higher than we've seen them in quite some time. So I see a lot of people saying, well, I'm just going to wait till next year. Almost always someone will say, my lease is up in April. Well, how much does it cost to break your lease? Because if it's $2,000, we need to figure out how we can work through that, because if you wait till April, you're going to be competing against everybody else and you're going to be bidding 50,000, 100,000 more over, getting into a bidding war situation. Whereas right now, we can figure out how to save you $2,000 somewhere for you to break that lease. You get in a home now, you're likely not competing against someone. In fact, you may even be able to get a seller concession to cover that expense.
It's so hard because, when you hear everybody else saying, I'm going to wait, you want to follow the herd. And of course, following the herd is expensive because then you're with the herd when they all want to buy at the same time. And a lot of people are asking me, rates are up, I think I'll wait till they come down. Well, here's the thing. Rates are up. If they are going to come down and you buy, then guess what you do? You refinance. And if rates keep going up, then you'll be really happy that you got it now. I don't think they're going to keep going up much above where they are now. They might go up a little bit more. And that's a whole other webinar on where rates are going. But anyway, the point is that if it makes sense for your family and that you need to move or you want to get on the housing ladder, which is, the best thing to do, for your wealth over time is to get on the housing ladder. So I'm going to zip through a few slides here just of where do we start and what is the world of lending, so that people can orient to, how do we start? So in the world of lending, there's three places you can go to get a loan. There's a retail bank. You'll have heard of Chase and Wells and BofA, those types of banks. They're retail bank. They lend their own money. They have their own rules, and then they keep those loans typically. Mortgage brokering is a middle guy who will sell loans, or not sell, will work with different institutions. And then there's a mortgage bank. Mortgage banking lend their own money and then they sell to different institutions. So why do you care about that? Basically, there's more flexibility in the bottom right in the mortgage banking world because we look at the whole gamut of everything. So we're looking at retail banking and brokering. So I just tell you that to know that if you do just toddle off to one of the retail banks and they say you've got this number or you can't buy until X, that might not be the case for everybody. That's just within their rules because they have their own set of guidelines. So just know where you are sitting in the world of lending. And then going on down here, just so you know, there's a distinction conforming and non-conforming. Fannie and Freddie are loans that are conforming. They buy loans, that are conforming to their rules. Non-conforming or a jumbo loan is just a larger loan that doesn't conform to Fannie and Freddie's loan size. So the reason that you need to know that is the rules are more liberal in the conforming world. And so sometimes we will need to keep you in that loan amount for certain guideline reasons. Chase, I would imagine that most of your loans, do they kind of straddle both of these, your clients, or are we, in your area? What would you say?
Yeah, a mix of both, about, probably half and half.
Yeah. It's lots of distinctions for why you'd want to be in one or the other. So we won't drill into that too much. That's, again, another whole webinar we could go on to. So when you're thinking about starting, these are the things we care about in lending. How much do you owe people? What do you make? What's the house? Are we looking at a house? Are we looking at a condo? What are we looking at? What's your credit score? And how much do you have saved? Those are the main things that any question that I ask you are going to fall into one of those buckets. So I will drill into each one of those slightly. Don't want to go and bore you for too long here, but there's so much to talk about debt and credit. There's some things you can do to really help your credit scores. Call us if you're concerned about them. We don't have to pull your credit, but we can help you strategize with, how to keep that credit score at the best thing and the best score, and talk you through rental history. Don't Venmo your roommate for your rent. It's really hard for us to prove rental history. That matters to us in the world of mortgages because you're going to come and ask me for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want to make sure that you've been able to pay your rent for the last couple of years. So there's lots of little nuances there that it is important to check with your lender ahead of time to make sure that you're setting yourself up to be in the best position. Income. We're looking at all sorts of income. Many people have bonuses, maybe some stock, we call it RSU compensation. They are all handled slightly differently. Again, this is another reason why to talk ahead of time. I'm sure you've had this happen, Chase, where somebody's talking about, moving companies and you go, don't do that until you talk to your lender because it changes how we can look at history. If you move companies, all of a sudden, we don't have a history of bonus. So that can be fun. So talk to us ahead of time before you make any moves. And then savings, obviously have some, do it. 401ks, we look at anything that's retirement as reserve. So it's really good to start a 401k if you're beginning in your career. Just even if it's a little bit, put something aside. It's good for so many reasons, and it does help you buy a house. It does not hurt. Some people think that it hurts. I mean, obviously you need liquid money too, but we do count what's in your 401k as reserves. So as Chase was saying at the beginning, the down payments can be as low as 3.5%. So you do need savings to be able to put the deposit. Chase, talk about the deposit and when they actually go to put in an offer. What do they need to write a check for typically?
Well, the earnest money deposit is due within a few days of executing a contract. So you'll need anywhere, depending on the price point, anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000. $50,000 being like $1 million plus purchase price. Mm-hmm. 5 to 10,000 usually, maybe 15. That's held by the title company until closing. Then that is applied toward your down payment. If you terminate the contract, say we have an inspection, you're not happy with it, we get that money back, no questions asked. But it's a deposit, and it does come back to you in the end.
And are most of the offers that you write in such that they could get out if they didn't like something? There are inspections or something that need to be done?
The contract is really designed to protect buyers in that way. So it's the only way that someone would lose their earnest money is if they back out in the last days of the contract before closing for a reason that they didn't disclose. There are built-in deadlines, appraisal, loan, inspection. With the inspection timeline, within 10 days, even if you just change your mind, there's a deadline for that. So that you get the earnest money back. But the earnest money is just a deposit. It comes back to you.
What we're used to providing on our side, on the lending side, is a fully pre-approved letter, which means that we've gone through underwriting so that you can have less contingencies. So, you know, the property and all of that is a great, you know, if you have to get out because the inspections come in, but I'm sure most of your offers, you want people to be fully pre-approved so that there's no, I'll buy this house if I can get a loan. It's like, no, I've already been told I can get the loan.
Well, you know, I think that I wouldn't want anyone to think that I won't show them a house unless I know that they're fully pre-approved, because, you know, sometimes it's nice, you know, people go to open houses, they see something they like, they want to go look at it again. They want to go look for the first time. I'm happy to go show it to them. The thing is, if they like the home and they want to place an offer, I have to send that letter with the offer. I can't send it without it. And so that's really why it's good to have that already in place, so that when you see something, you're ready, you're competitive, you may be able to skip the line and get in front of the others who are still getting their letter together.
Yeah, and it's also a very stressful time when you're looking at a house and you're going, oh my gosh, can I bid on it? There's enough to think about without actually also having to think about, oh, I better get Nikki her pay stubs that she told me I needed 3 weeks ago type
And
thing.
it's helpful to know what that house looks like monthly to you.
Yes.
If you walk into a home and you know that it's going to cost X amount of dollars, maybe it's a little bit more than what you're paying in rent or what you're paying currently, at least you know that. And if you like it enough, you say, hey, where can I save $500 in my budget? Maybe I make coffee at home and not go out for coffee every morning.
Rounding in the numbers is huge. And I talk about that a lot as a finance advisor as well as a mortgage advisor, the affordability piece. You know, what is the cash flow going to look like? And that's what most people worry about when they're talking about rates or something. What they're really saying is, what's my payment and what's my, you know, what is that cash flow? So can I go an extra 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000? What is that monthly? And talking of monthly, this slide that's up here is how we qualify you. So the PITI, which you may hear of, principal, interest, tax, and insurance, that's your housing payment. That's sort of the equivalent to what you pay in rent, except that there's principal. So you're paying down your mortgage. So it's not, you can't look at it dollar for dollar because some of it's going into a savings account called home equity. But the PITI divided by your income, or PITI plus your other debt, so credit cards, things like that, divided by your income. That's what we call the debt to income ratio. And that's this magical thing. In that conforming world, we want you to be somewhere probably under 45%. In the jumbo world, probably more often under 43% of your gross monthly income going towards your total housing and debt. So that's just some math there for you. And we threw up these, and, you know, we can talk a little bit more about, you know, the grounding here has you, Chase, be able to advise people in a much more grounded and realistic way on what makes sense for a particular house, right? So there might be a house that needs some work, and so you know their budget is this, but you know where they're going to come in, and you having those conversations when you're grounded on your numbers is, I know, for you easier, so that people can say, yes, on this one I can go to this level.
One thing that I have had conversations with people before is when they say, well, I just hate to take any money out of my savings. I just hate to take any money out of my 401k that I've worked so hard to save up. Well, guess what? That is still your money. It's invested in your home. You access that money if you need to take a home equity line of credit out at some point. But I think of it as just putting it into another account, another investment. And there's nothing better than investing in where you live. I had a statistic one time, I don't know if it's still true, maybe you would know, but something like 80% of Americans gain most of their wealth through real estate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. I completely 100% agree. It's, I always say, when you buy a house, your net worth is the same. When you buy a car, it's gone down the second you drive it off the lot, right? But when you buy a house, your net worth consists of, columns. You've got your savings, you've got your checking, you've got your 401k, and another column is called real estate. And at the end, there's the total. And maybe now you don't own real estate, so you have a zero there. But once you buy the house, it just moves out of savings into a column called home equity. But it's still on your balance sheet. It's still an asset. It's an appreciating asset normally, and you're paying down your mortgage, which that's how you build wealth, is by paying down the mortgage and the home appreciates. Now, of course, we can't guarantee that your home's going to appreciate, right? But we can say that over time, as long as your time frame is about 5 years, pretty much historically, it will always be a win.
Well, and let's just say it doesn't appreciate. Eventually, you own the equity. Eventually it's paid off. Eventually you're not paying someone else. And then when you move out, you leave with nothing.
Right. Yes.
Of course,
yes.
I don't see that happening in most places. But
no, it's not. The key is not having to sell during a down market. As long as you can write it out, know what your payments are, know what it would rent for if you wanted to transfer somewhere else and it was a bad market and you didn't want to have to sell into that. That's the key, is, can it cash flow? So lots of information there. We've had some slides up here, which I'm not going to go through, but just, give you the numbers, the grounding. The point is that having advisors and having people help you is what we love to do. We talk to a lot of people who aren't ready to buy. We talk to a lot of people who are maybe 5 years away, and we talk to a lot of people who all of a sudden it's tomorrow. I find that happens more often than not, because once you go through the numbers and they realize they can do it and start looking, that's when the fun starts with Chase, and they say, "Oh, Nikki said I could," and then they go see something, and that's the exciting part.
It's very exciting, and I'll just say this: it's very exciting for me to work with first-time buyers. I have many buyers that, they'll buy their 4th, 5th, 6th home. They're used to it. They know how it works, but it's nothing better than a buyer not thinking that they can do it.
Yeah.
Thinking that there's just no way that they can afford this payment or this house that they really want to live. And to see that all come together, it's so rewarding on closing day when they have really taken control of their life and they own the place they live.
It is so rewarding. You're absolutely right. I love what I do. We get to know people for a living, and a house is not just a financial decision. It is your home. It's where you live. It's where you make your memories. And so on that note, Chase and I would love to help you make memories, or help you with the place that helps you make the memories. And, we're available for any questions that you have. The information's on the screen here. And Chase, you want to wrap up here, and we'll let these lovely people go?
Well, just give us a call. It's not scary. It's the best thing you can do, and we'll help you every step of the way. Awesome. Thanks for joining me with my chat with Chase.